You're listening to The Final Say, Conversations with People Facing Death. I'm Deborah Jarvis, and The Final Say is the podcast where you can get comfortable talking about death and learn some things about life from people who are facing death. In this episode, we're doing something a little different. My guest today is Reverend Randall Mullins and his wife, Sharon Pavelda, who will be his translator. I met Randall over 30 years ago here in Seattle. He was striking because he is very tall and the very definition of the word lanky. He was an eloquent speaker, articulate, dynamic, wise, and funny, and all of this came wrapped up with a charming Tennessee drawl. But 13 years ago, he was diagnosed with a rare tongue cancer and had to have his tongue surgically removed. And that is when his wife Sharon became his translator. She herself is an engaging speaker and also happens to be a death midwife, which is a wonderful bonus for all of us listening. And it's good for Randall because he's now in hospice because his cancer has spread. I've thought about ways to describe Randall and Sharon, which could just take forever. So here's what I want you to know. In 2015, they were living in Memphis, and they spearheaded a group of people to memorialize the victims of the 21 known lynchings in Shelby County, Tennessee. And this group became the Lynching Sites Project of Memphis. And they did just that. They identified all the sites of the known lynchings in that county. And it was hard work and painful work and necessary work. And that's the kind of people Randall and Sharon are. The Lynching Site Project of Memphis is still going on, and I will leave more info in the transcripts on the website. So Randall and Sharon moved back to Washington State from Tennessee to be closer to family. And I'd been out of touch with Randall for at least 20 years. But the moment I saw him and hugged him, it was as if no time had passed. So Randall, Wes and I were talking, and I said, I know Randall as such an eloquent man, such a fantastic preacher and speaker. Amen. That this feels so tragic to me. And that's got to be the hardest thing. And then when I was driving down here, I thought, but maybe not. So I want to ask you, what has been the hardest thing for you in this whole journey since your diagnosis to where you are now?
Since you lost your tongue?
Yeah.
It was a big loss. Now I'm feeling like I never grieved about it in some ways. It was 13 years ago that he first got diagnosed. The surgery was in March at MD Anderson. I went home, yes, in June, and in July, Sharon and I gave a sermon at our church, our wonderful church. A preacher with no tongue. We did it like this.
Wow.
Yeah, he would talk and I would talk. For the first time in my life. And for the first time in his life, the sermon ended with the congregation dancing.
Wow.
Almost everybody was dancing by the end, yeah. There were maybe 100 people dancing at the end, yes.
I would consider that a victory. How did it feel? How did that feel to you?
It was like a miracle. There was a lot of ego, bravado, all that shit. Oh, you feel ashamed of that? Little bit. I'm still happy about it.
Isn't it funny how often it's so hard for us to celebrate our successes? I mean, I grew up with my mother saying, well, don't get the big head. But, sometimes we just need to say, hey, yay for me. I did this thing and it was hard. And then we can move on.
There was a big article in the paper about Randall and this whole experience.
About the dancing congregation?
Well, about everything, about him losing his tongue and who he was in the community. But I think because of that, when we started the lynching sites project work, it freed you in a way. That's how I've experienced it. There's a freedom. For one thing, it brought your dancing self into your theology and your prayers and your preaching. Do you know about interplay?
Yes.
Body wisdom. One of the forms. It's called a DT3. Dance Talk 3. He's going to do a little, okay. He's going to do a little bit.
Okay, don't fall on top of me, Randall,
Right.
Okay?
He doesn't talk while he's doing this.
Okay.
And then I talk, Deborah, it's wonderful to have you here.
Oh.
It's really good for my heart. And he dances again. And then he speaks.
This is my first time to do a routine thing about my cancer.
This is the first time he's done a DT3 about his cancer.
And I don't know why, because most of the time I'm talking
And I don't know why, because dancing became important to me. He never took dancing lessons. No, none of us good Baptist Christians would have been doing that. But I had never been afraid to dance. He wants you to do a little hand dance. We'll do a hand dance with him.
I'll do a hand dance with you.
Yes. So Randall has taught this in churches. This is how Randall has prayed during prayers of the people at times.
Moving your hands like this. So Randall and I did a little hand dance, which if you try it yourself, is simply moving your hands in a way that feels right. It's okay if your arms get a little involved, or maybe it's just your fingers that are dancing. And perhaps your movements are fluid and graceful, or sharp, or percussive. And maybe you hear a song in your head, or your heart, or your hands are dancing in a kind of divine silence.
That's how dancing became precious. There again, it's uniting, it crosses barriers. If people can move their hands or arms. And it keeps us in our bodies.
Oh, that is
Body wisdom.
huge.
Body wisdom.
That is huge.
And I think when it comes to dying, the more we are in our bodies,
Yeah.
the more we can trust our bodies know what they're doing.
Why do you think it's so hard for our culture, in particular, American culture, to talk about death?
I speculate. I wonder if it was this hard in the 1800s or the 1700s or the time of the plague. I think one reason now
that consumer culture has done to our spirits,
Of what consumer culture has done to our spirits.
Mm, mm. Yeah. And I think we don't see death like they saw it in the 1700s and the 1800s. We keep
Even
it
in the 1900s.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we're still the last generation that really saw our loved ones, even so they were in funeral homes, but it was open caskets and we had the visitations, and some people still were able to have their loved ones at home for a vigil. I grew up, my early years were on a farm in Mississippi. I grew up in a rural culture, and I think we talked about death more. For example, you were at many funerals as a child, yes. With the body present.
Right.
I've never been at a funeral in Seattle with the body present. Not one.
Wow. I think I've done 2. I mean, as a minister where there was a body present. That's out of a lot of funerals that I've done. So
when the funeral industrial complex got its start, they really gave us the message that death is too terrible to look at. Let us do all of this for you. Let us prepare the body because this is too awful. Yeah. And by that very taking away of that very healing process of cleaning and anointing a body and dressing it and preparing it has taken such a comfort away from us. Yeah. So instead, it's replaced by a fear. And I think it has something to do in the West with our Puritan something culture too. And this ambivalence about we're to celebrate death because we're going home to God, to heaven. And it's the last thing we want to do. My favorite quote is Woody Allen, who says, "I don't mind dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens."
how have most of your family and your close friends handled your diagnosis and your prognosis?
With a hell of a lot of patience. It's been so long since the prognosis.
Well, that's true, huh?
Yes.
Are you in hospice now?
Yes.
And how long have you been?
For 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
We give hospice credit for extending Randall's life.
Tell me how you deal with regrets in your life.
Oh. They're awful for me. Feel mostly agony. I go through agony about so many ways. I hurt people and never said I'm sorry. Just dumb things that I did. I've mostly been more inclined to beat myself up.
Yeah, yeah.
I have got over a lot of that, but not all of it. Still happens. Now grace seems to win.
Let me tell you why I asked you that question. I recently did a memorial service, and it was for a friend, and I really didn't get to know him well until he was dying. And regret was a big thing. We loved the Marie Kondo method, where you pick something up and you say, Does this spark joy? And so regrets are like that. So when you think about your regret, does it spark joy? Probably not. Is it useful? Maybe. And if it's useful for your life now, look at it, examine it, learn what you can, and then donate it. But I think, that's something all of us really struggle with.
Yes, that
Does it?
helps me.
Yeah, because what can you do? That's back there. All we have is right now.
And regrets can become spiritual compost.
Oh, that's really good. Spiritual compost.
Deborah, your presence today. It's bringing me to life. I wake up every day now, exhausted. Moment I get out of bed, I usually want to go back to bed. And when this is over, he means the interview.
I know.
I'll go to bed.
I'm like, oh, is this another euphemism for death? I'm just going to go back to bed.
Right. And you have lots of visits in person and on Zoom. Well, we have lots of visits, yes, and they just mean everything.
Yeah.
Our friends, many of them are understanding, very understanding about the slow process.
What is your dream scenario for your death? What would you like that to look like? Do you have a poem about it? That guy, he comes prepared to class.
The last poem in the book,
Oh.
which is one of my favorites. Farewell poem. This man has been worn whole and grateful by storm and love. Let him die near some who knew his flaws and failures and loved him anyway. Let him breathe easily into that good last breath, which exhales into mystery. And if possible, let this be in the company of some laughter. Remember that his friendship with darkness included a light heart. He was born in October, when leaves die in style. He would welcome a departure in that same month of colors, but it could also be winter, when the lean-limbed trees await rebirth, or spring when resurrections abound. He may die when summer warms the beaches and the oceans sing him home. Let words that heal be spoken and entrusted to grace and eternity. May those who blessed him with love and friendship be blessed themselves. Let all who gather or hear of his passing know that even in times when he was blind, he could still feel love gathering around him and within him. He had come to know himself as a man blessed beyond words to describe it. He had allowed grace to find him and lead him into the streams of gratitude. And he chose to ride those streams into the mystery of home.
Randall, have you and Sharon arranged some kind of sign so that after you die, she'll know that you're around? I know a lot of people do that. Have you guys done that?
Almost. Not a sign per se. We can come up with one while Deborah's there. Our sense, Deborah, is that we know we will be connected forever. We believe love is eternal. And that sense of who Randall Mullins is, that's what's been also very reassuring, is that even as Randall's body has faded away, he is so Randall Mullins. The essence of him is as bright as ever. Some simple hand dance will be our sign.
Okay.
So I can call you if I'm doing a hand dance.
Good to know.
Just reach out.
You know, Randall, this is true. You are quintessentially yourself. The only thing missing is your accent, your slight Southern drawl.
Which I love.
I know. That's the only thing. It's like, oh yeah, but it's still Randall. You're totally Randall. So here's my final say for today. There are so many times when someone is ill or grieving, and we say we don't want to bother them. So many people are probably calling and wanting to visit. I'll just leave them alone. But here's the thing. We usually don't go because we are afraid. We're afraid that we won't know what to say or what to do, or that we'll be bored, or it will be awkward, or that we don't have the time. And I want to say here, just set all that fear aside and reach out. If they don't want to visit, they will let you know. If they don't want a phone call, they don't have to answer. So reach out. Show up. You won't regret it. And if you do regret it, just remember, it's spiritual compost. So thanks for listening to The Final Say, Conversations with People Facing Death. This podcast is written, edited, and produced by me, Deborah Jarvis. Please let me know what you thought of today's episode. You can go over to the website, thefinalsaypodcast.com, and leave me a message. And of course, I love it when you leave me a good review wherever you get your podcasts, because that helps get more people listening to these amazing stories. Thank you, as always, to Blue Dot Sessions for providing music, and deepest gratitude to Randall Mullins and Sharon Pavelda for opening their hearts to us. And may you find beauty and joy in your day.